Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. Your magical kiss will take me just so far. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. Don't leave me like this, dangling from a star. You set me all aflame and it's so pleasing. It sure would be a shame if you were only teasing. So my love, before I go, turn the lights way down low and talk to me. Talk to me, talk to me. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this August rendition of the Don McKeag Show. We are today in Studio B here at PAC TV in Plymouth. And Ken's having trouble, as he always does. So if there's a couple of mess-ups during the show, you'll know who to blame. Not really. Anyway, we are so happy to have you join us. Hopefully there's some who have seen this show before. We're on, of course, every Thursday. There'll be a couple of missed Thursdays, but you will be informed, and there will be a rerun. My name is Don McKeag, and I also have a radio show on Cape Cod Saturday mornings from 11 till 1, WXTK, that's 95.1 on your dial. And this show, by the way, I hope you'll jot it down, we are on Comcast Channel 13, or if you have Verizon Fios, it's Channel 43. And it's a call-in show. Please don't be afraid to call in and interrupt the speaker, myself or anyone else. Kenny will direct you right on the air. And that's one of the things that I've always liked about being on talk radio. The opportunity for you, the listener, the viewer in this case, being able to call in, express your viewpoints. If you disagree, I encourage you every bit as much as those who are in agreement with what you have to say. The number's 508-830-3971. It's on your screen. And there will be reruns of this program and others that we've done on Mondays at 11 p.m., Tuesdays at 9 in the morning, and Wednesdays at 1 p.m. As is my bent, I like to read certain quotes because they are so important, I believe, to all of us of all ages to remember how we got to where we are from the standpoint of this great country that we were so fortunate to end up living in. Some of us were born here. Many came from other countries, as they do now. But the point is, this still, with all its flaws, all the problems that we have, is the finest country in the world. At its best, it was the finest country ever in this world. We should not forget that when we see all the divisions that are going on now. But what I like to read, and my radio show as well, because it makes perfect sense to me and to those who use the brain God gave them, and that is a quote by Martin Luther. Now, Martin Luther lived over 500 years ago and quoted in 1526. Martin Luther was a devoted Roman Catholic priest who went against the church because of the corruption and of the practices that were going on at the top of that church. He was not a Protestant. Protestantism came, the Reformation came from his and other priests and others' efforts to try to throw out the corruptors, to see to it that those that were making the decisions for the church, which, by the way, at that time was the controlling Christian force in the world. There was no competition to speak of in the Western world. Here is what he said in 1523. Cowardice asked the question, is it safe? Expediency asked the question, is it politic? Vanity asked the question, is it popular? But conscience asked the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe nor politic nor popular. But he must take it because his conscience tells him it is right. Do we still have a conscience in this country? We have been overtaken by the greed that's in all of us. I keep referencing the 7 deadly sins. Those of us that have stopped going to church on a regular basis, and I plead guilty, but at least I still have my beliefs, and I still honor them. I honor the church. I honor the Christian faith. How many of us today do? How many of us have not yielded to the greed, to those who are making billions, dishonoring the religion and other religions, by the way? Remember, we're not talking Catholic, Protestant, or Jew. We're talking a person's personal religions that follow the Christian Judeo system, which is 76% of the population declared. Maybe they're not practicing, but they have declared their Christian affiliation. We now have leadership that caters to the minority position and decides to vilify existing religion for their own personal gain. We have lost our moral core. So I keep bringing up this particular quote because, to me, America is in deep trouble. And we need to have or be reminded that conscience is our guide. Remember, let conscience be your guide, all these old expressions. Kenny, we have problems with my little, are we having trouble with my voice? I'm not carrying well. This is Ken Bukes, my, are you my partner here? I hope not. I hope I don't have to rely. Ken Bukes, my good man. Anyway, so again, our phone number is 1-508-830-3971. I jot down different ideas here that, to me, are so important. And the awareness of the press, the biased press, is so important to me. It's nothing different, by the way. When we talk, those of us that are conservative, those of us that go on to the facts rather than feelings. I get so upset thinking that conservatives and people who think like I do, we don't have feelings. For heaven's sake, couldn't be further from the truth. We all have feelings. But that's not what makes things grow. Because feelings can be false. And remember, Napoleon, the comment Napoleon made in 1808, 4 hostile newspapers are more to be feared than 1,000 bayonets. So it was true in 1808. The power of the press. We call it freedom of the press. It's not free when the press is biased, when the press opinionates. They have op-ed pages, which is fine. But that's not what I perceive the media has become. The media has become a political arm of the Democratic Party, of the left, of the liberal establishment. They don't speak for all Democrats. Those that are just listening for the first time or seeing me for the first time, I was a devoted Democrat for most of my life. I did stray because I still believe in voting for the person that you think can do the best job. I voted for Ronald Reagan, as did hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Remember, at that time, there were Democrats for Reagan. Reagan won the state of Massachusetts, not once, twice in his 2 terms in office. How could he have done it? Because people sensed something in him that they liked. The general public, you can't fool them all the time. So when I criticize the Democrats, I criticize the Democratic leadership, not you individuals who are Democrats, as I was. I just could not stand what they no longer stand for. I was a John F. Kennedy Democrat. And I keep repeating this because it bears repeating. John F. Kennedy, ask not what your country's going to do for you, what are you going to do for your country? Reverse now. You look at the government. Look at the government program. Look at this health care that's been jammed down people's throats. There was a huge amount of opposition from citizens in this country against that health care plan. And it was jammed down your teeth by the Democratic leadership. Simple as that. Now, if that's okay with you Democrats who just rubber stamp every candidate, then you're not going to see any changes. Now, we talked last week a little bit about this immigration, which is a mess. I'm a first-generation immigrant. My father came over here at 4 years old. My grandparents on his side, my great aunts and uncles all came over from either England or Ireland. At that time, you had to have a sponsor. You had to have a job, you had to have a place to live, and you had to be in good health. That's why they stopped you in places like Ellis Island. My family came into the port of Boston, but they still were inspected. Oh, that's just, to the liberals, that's just unfair. We have people coming into this country illegally now, and the Democratic Party continues to support that, the leadership. I can't believe the Democratic working stiff supports that. I can't believe you do. Well, here's what I had in my, thank you very much, Kenny. I could use that. Cheers. Cheers. Here's the hypocrisy. I say this all the time. What happens, you in Plymouth, you get a beach sticker. Kenny, you get a beach sticker, right? How about a dump sticker? Yes. Do you have to show identification when you go to town hall? You don't in Plymouth. Yeah. Oh, of course you do. Well, what are you talking about? Why did you shake your head? Were you trying to screw up the show? Yeah. I'm mostly from Barnstable. I was originally from Weymouth, those that are new to this show. But I spent 50 years down on the Cape and was in the restaurant business. And I know all about identification, and so do you. How, in God's name, do we worry about health issues? You take this Ebola situation in Africa. They're bringing people back here with Ebola when we're trying to keep it out of the country. I'm not talking about American citizens. But on top of that, we have a high incidence now of tuberculosis, other communicable diseases that are coming into this country over the borders with illegals. This leadership, this government doesn't seem to care. Their feelings are first. And by the way, let me tell you, I wish I'm going to have to do this paraphrasing. Kenny, jump in if you know who was responsible for this, because I couldn't find it. But there's this wonderful saying that says, a lie requires 100 legs. The truth stands on but one. Think of that. How many lies do we have being told today and covered up by the media? Lie after lie after lie. And what they have to do is cover their bases everywhere. The truth doesn't need that. That's what I try to deal in. And that's what I mean about facts versus feelings. Everyone, we're human beings, we have feelings. Some more acute than others. We get our feelings hurt. We hurt other people's feelings. We think this, we think that. I remember I was a teacher for 13 years. Loved it. Loved the kids. And yet we have these people who think if the kids aren't happy in school, there's something wrong with the school. Now, I forget who made this statement, someone of note. But it was, youth by its very nature will never be happy, nor will they be unhappy. How profound is that? Think of it. Think of when you were young, but especially even now. But the youth, the best looking girl in the high school, she's a cheerleader, she's a straight A student, but her boyfriend breaks up with her. Is she going to be upset? Is she going to get a cry in class? I mean, that's an extreme, but it isn't. I mean, are we going to say that every time kids don't like what's going on in school, it's the school's fault? Well, some parents do, because, of course, heaven forbid Nancy or Billy or anybody is upset. Mommy and Daddy's got to do everything they can that they don't get upset, and that's not the real world. Well, getting back to this identification, which you hear this liberal media constantly talking about why we should allow illegals in here. And illegals, remember, they don't have a driver's license. They don't have insurance on their car. I know police officers in Barnstable, up here in Plymouth, the Carver, they've told me they don't even stop, or they'll stop, but they don't arrest illegals half the time, or more than half, unless there's another charge, because it goes to the court, and the court turns them loose. Now again, liberal thinking, feelings flock, I call them. You can't fix stupid, so I can't fix them. They're just plain stupid. You don't have a law just because you agree with it. You have a law because society has determined it to be beneficial to the mass, to the regular population, not to these outside minorities who don't like it. How do you justify judges and lawyers whose job it is to obey the law? In a judge's case, it's to use the law to adjudicate problems in society. How do you have the word illegal not prosecuted? Try driving your car right now and get pulled over and you don't have your license. What are they going to do? You don't have your registration, or your license is expired. I don't care how nice a guy the police officer is. By law, they have to arrest you. You're an American citizen. But you don't have a valid license, say, or you've left your license, you got your bathing suit on. I mean, these things happen. Now, I don't mean that it isn't taken care of, but if you're illegal, first of all, you're breaking, you don't have any rights. I don't want to address these people that illegal have rights like we do, and you swallow that nonsense. You don't have a brain that God gave you. But anyway, here is something I had in my file that I found. This goes back 10 years, Kenny. Listen to this about a passport. Have you gotten a passport? Yes. Yes. Okay. Do you have a passport? Do they let you out of the country? I can't believe it. I feel like you haven't got a microphone in there, you can't even answer me? Oh, that's because Studio B, huh? Yeah, it's Studio B. Well, poke yourself in here.
Well, I didn't have time
for heaven's sake.
to go on, but I'll stand here so you can look at
No, you can't, because that's when the phone will ring. We need the phone ringing.
There you are.
Okay, but anyway, now again, this is just facts, folks. This isn't feelings. This is facts. This is written by a woman back in November of 2010. Dear Mrs. or Ms. or Sir, I'm in the process of renewing my passport and still cannot believe this. How is it that Radio Shack has my address and telephone number and knows that I bought a cable TV from them in 1987, and yet the federal government is still asking where I was born and on what date? For God's sake, do you guys do this by hand? Ever heard of computers? Now, this is 10 years ago, by the way, so now we have cell phones. My birth date you have in my Social Security file. It's on every income tax form I've filed for the past 35 plus years. It's on my Medicare health insurance card and on my driver's license. It's on the last 8 damned passports I've had. It's on every stupid customs declaration form I've had to fill out before being allowed off the plane for the last 30 plus years. And it's on all those census forms that we have to do at election times. Census forms. Democrats want people, they don't have to show anything, because remember, kindness cookies, feel-good lovers out there, it's racist or it's unfair to ask anyone to show identification. Now, they have to show it for a beach sticker, you bird brains, but you tell them that they shouldn't have to show it when they vote for the President of the United States. And that's not insanity? You need counseling. Period. All of you. Anyway, would someone please take note once and for all that my mother's name is Mary Ann, my father's name is Robert, and I'm reasonably confident that neither name is likely to change between now and when I die. Between you and me, I've had enough of this bureaucratic bull. You send the application to my house, then you ask me for my address. What is going on? You must have a gang of bureaucratic Neanderthal morons working there. Look at my damn picture. Do I look like bin Laden? And no, I don't want to dig up Yasser Arafat. I just want to go and park my fanny on a sandy beach. And would someone please tell me, why would you give a damn whether I plan on visiting a farm in the next 15 days? Remember, just those of us that have gotten a passport, these are the questions you have to fill out. But we got them coming over they're hitchhiking over the border down in Mexico. And this Obama character that you love so much because he's so sweet, he's letting them do it. They may have TB, they may have AIDS, you don't care, right? Because you feel good about it. Good grief. And if I ever get the urge to do something weird to a chicken or a goat, believe you me, I'm sure as hell not going to tell anybody about it. This gal is great, okay? Anyway, now, well, I have to go now because I have to go to the other end of the city and get another friggin' copy of my birth certificate to the tune of $100. Would it be so difficult to have all the services in the same area so I could get a new passport the same day? No. That would require planning and organization. And it would be too logical for the government. You'd rather have us running all over the place like chickens with our heads cut off. Then we have to find some dodo to confirm that it's really me on the damned picture. You know, the one where you're not allowed to smile? Hey, you know why we can't smile? Because we're P.O.'d, that's why. P.S. Remember what I wrote about getting someone to confirm that the picture is me? Well, my family has been in the United States of America since 1776. I have served in the military for something over 35 years and have had security clearances up the yin-yang. However, I have to get someone important to verify who I am. You know, somebody like my doctor who was born and raised in India. Are you bird brains, do you want to run our healthcare system? There's facts. There's truth. Only needs one leg, needs one guy like me to read it to you. Now, how do you not sit at a table and when you hear your liberal daughters or sister or brother or next door neighbor wring their hands and whine about how unfair it is to make someone show their picture to vote for the President of the United States, you Democrats, but it's okay to go through what this woman went through to get a passport. And any one of us goes through it. That's perfectly okay. And you don't understand a double standard? You don't understand anything. Again, as Ron White, my pal, says, you can't fix stupid. Anyway, so 508-830-3971. We would love to hear from you. I hope we'll get more people calling, but I'm so interesting, Kenny, I think they probably don't want to interrupt me. Yeah, that's it. Now let's talk about another state. Oh, first of all, I want to know, this may be another topic someone might want to, everybody loves the Red Sox. I don't. I was a Boston Braves man. My dad played in the Boston Braves system for years, a long time ago. But anyway, I don't know if you saw on 60 Minutes last Sunday. By the way, that golf tournament, did you watch that, Kenny? Rory McIlroy, fine Northern Ireland lad. Wow, what a finish. And Phil Mickelson was terrific. What a class act. And here he is, 46 years old, being competitive. Not all the time, of course. He's like, I don't think Tiger's ever going to be what he was. And of course, like the rest of us. I mean, age does what it does. And I often think about Tiger now with the back. I think it may be getting to his head now when he starts not playing well. I think that it's psychosomatic maybe. But remember, he was one of the first golfers to really start lifting weights and getting a muscular build. And that's all well and good, but you got to be very careful. These guys swing so hard, you know, those tight, taut muscles that have been developed, musculars, you know, can not take, sometimes cannot take that instant pressure, but who's to know? But anyway, that particular tournament was just wonderful, and they ended up just before dark. Rory sank about a 11-foot putt to win by one stroke, but Phil finished second, and then the other class golfer is that young kid, Ricky Fowler. Gee, what another class act. And he and Phil Mickelson, I think Ricky's only like 25 years old. Rory's only 25. So it was a wonderful, and Mickelson was very classy because they could have called it because it was getting too dark. And Rory didn't want to have to come back, and neither did the others actually. But you knew Phil wasn't too happy about it, but he just is a good class act. So
I read about that.
you did.
I read.
You can read still.
Oh, I can
Oh,
still
good.
read.
Yeah, good.
That's how I managed to do this. You know that's just so you can get a sip of water. That young man that you're talking about, that finished third, they are saying he's the new Tiger Woods.
But you can't, you know, these people, I was in sports, I coach sports. Anybody that's in athletics, you know, I love to hear these people, and some of those former pros, they should know better. I know they have to do it to, you know, prop up all the players, but I mean, that is so over the top because you don't know really what's, you know, like Rory. Of course, you hear me blaming women for everything.
Don't go there.
And I don't go there. Your wife, Karen, is she watching tonight?
Yes, she is.
Karen, I'm going to go there. No, but Rory, it's recorded and it was admitted. He had a torrid affair, and I forget who the girl was. I think she was a tennis player or a women's golfer. I saw her on the screen, and he played poorly for a year ago, he was not playing well. Now, it's not her fault, but I think the romantic side, and when you no longer focus just on that, and of course, Tiger, a lot of his problem came after that.
Too much.
You know, that's correct.
Yeah.
But they're only human beings. But again, I think it's unfair to the athlete to be constantly referred to as the next great champion. Although these kids they're really they're fearless. You know, that's another reason. They're not intimidated by Tiger Woods or anybody else. They're just kids.
Right.
And that's the beauty of being that young and not having these doubts about yourself athletically or otherwise, because they haven't gone through what a lot of us have gone through. And some of these older players, I mean, they know what it's like. You know, you take a Greg Norman when he had like a 13-stroke lead in one of those, it was either the Open or the Masters, and lost. And Rory, remember, had an 8-stroke or 9-stroke lead. But anyway, it was so nice to see. And what I was leading up to, though, Kenny, if you didn't see it, is afterwards I watched 60 Minutes because it came on with the expose of A-Rod being banned from baseball for a year. And, of course, he's fighting it. And they had, I forget the man's name is Bruno or Brown or something, that he's going to do time. But this is why I don't like the Red Sox, ladies and gentlemen. I know, you start throwing things, but Manny Ramirez, he's always been a piece of dung as far as I'm concerned. I don't care how he hits. But I want to know why his participation was covered up. Because in 60 Minutes, this guy talks not only about A-Rod and about administering these drugs, but he also talks about Manny Ramirez. And yet, he was never a focal point while he was with the Red Sox. The other thing I don't like about the Red Sox ownership was, and I've heard this through the grapevine because I have some people that work up there, and Tim Wakefield had said, the Red Sox do a nice thing. I think they continue it every year, and that is they bring in like 30-plus kids with cancer. It's through the Jimmy Fund, yeah, but they bring them in on a particular given day, and after the game, the players go over and sign autographs and meet the kids. For something like 8 or 10 years, Manny never went and got away with that. It only came out when the writers informed the public after Manny got traded over to he went to the Dodgers, I think, along with the other guy. Now that's Red Sox management. They don't want their star player to look bad. And this is one of the problems in sport or anything else. Politics, the same thing. Access. It's not always the reporter's fault. The reporters are told, if you print that, you're fired. Or the editors of the Globe or anything. They cover up an awful lot because of the pressure coming from either the network or the owners of these teams, and that goes for the Patriots as well, and they yield to it. And I can't blame an individual reporter, because if your job is lost because you report, you're going to play by the rules. And by the way, that's what Obama's been doing in the military. Again, you don't want to hear it, and you don't hear it on the major media. He has removed something like 35 or 50 or more top generals and admirals in the service for what he calls retirement reasons, but it's rapidly becoming apparent that it also has to do with their political stances. And that is scary. Scary. So, 1-508-830-3971. We don't have an 800 number, do we, by the way?
Call XTK now.
No. Now, we have, by the way, we have 17 towns, is it?
Yes.
That this will be seen on. Is it being seen right now at this hour? the first run. So that's, I know, I just heard from someone today from Wareham, that saw it in Wareham, and another fellow saw it in Kingston. So that was nice. Lakeville, yeah, Marion. What is that now? Mattapoisett. So I'm telling you this so you Plymouth people can, Dorchester. Oh, what about Dorchester? That's where you're from.
No doubt.
I want to say the other, well, anyway, so just an aside was to see about this baseball and sports in general. Now, this is another thing that again, the hypocrisy out there, and I just like to point it out. I'm one of these people, treat people the same. Like the expression we had when we were growing up, Kenny, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. We've lost that, you know. We have special interest groups now getting special rights. It's not about minorities anymore. It's about control, and it's about the control of the minorities by getting special rights. They want everything that we have. I'm talking about majority people now. But they don't want to have to do the same things that we did to get there. That's one of the huge flaws of today's unions. Now, we're not talking about corporate America. We're talking about the business community out there. People who own businesses who are being punished, especially by people like this state, states like Massachusetts, who are so anti-business. I've owned several businesses, and let me tell you, my employees never had the worries that I always had, and any one of us that owns a business. Male, female, old, young. Kids that grew up with their mother and father owning a business. Ask them how many hours they spent working for their father or mother when someone didn't show up. Do you think the employees care if there's a leak in the roof? And I don't mean all employees. But this is this union mentality where they want, and athletes now, they think they deserve more money or as much as the owner does. Now, I'm not high on the big moneyed billionaires that own the teams, but they still are paying the freight. They still have to take any kind of financial reverses. They take risks. Those of us in business are risk takers. That's why capitalism has always worked, because effort has to do with taking chances. But again, you listen to these liberals, you listen to these, it's not fair. I'll tell you, there's a million things that aren't fair, and most of them aren't against the business community. Let's look at another state, by the way. Oklahoma, where the wind comes racing down the plain. I better not sing. Did you play my Talk to Me, though? Yes. By the way, those that hear that song at the beginning, that is not me playing the piano. Well, it's me at the very beginning. But the Talk to Me is Dave McKenna, probably the finest piano player. Certainly one of, I consider him the finest piano player in the world. He's passed. And he plays at the end, too, yes. Well, anyway, Oklahoma is a state of cowboys and Indians, also the home state of Will Rogers, who in 1924, I believe, when you get too depressed about politics and politicians, just remember, Will Rogers once said in the 20s, "We have the best Congress money can buy." Imagine. So that's what we've got now. Money buys Congress, and you know it and I know it. Both parties. But before we get too depressed, we got to remember that great movie, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, with Jimmy Stewart, and that was in the 30s, I believe, maybe 41 or 2, but so imagine you're talking 70 years ago 80 years ago, if you're talking about the third. And it was all about the politicians who are just the same. I mean, it's a shame. There are good people in politics, but I think they're ruined by the need to get elected. We talked about that last week. But anyway, let's look at our state of Oklahoma. Got a couple of things to read here, but here is a comparison of one state versus, take New England per se. Excuse me. Oklahoma now. Why do I bring up Oklahoma? Not because of Will Rogers was born there, and not because of the song and the play. I think that was Rogers and Hammerstein, but it was Oklahoma. But because Oklahoma was the only state that Obama did not win even one county in the last election. Did you know that, Kenny? Most people wouldn't know that. While everyone is focusing on Arizona's new law, look at what Oklahoma has been doing. Now this is, again, I think this is last year or 2 years ago. I haven't got a date on this one. I keep these because they're universal. They don't run out. Their value is forever. Like Ron White says, stupid is forever. There's no pill for it. There's no cure for it. Stupid is stupid. So anyway, Oklahoma law passed 37-9, an amendment to place the 10 Commandments on the front entrance to the state capitol. We, in our feel-good, wonderful, Democrat-controlled state, and in the federal government, by the way, this isn't just our state, they passed a law. This is what I mean about the insidious deterioration of a religious core that made this country great, being allowed by you who vote for the people who do this. We can't post the 10 Commandments on a public building now, thanks to the judicial branch of this fine country of ours. Oklahoma overruled it. See, this is another problem that we have in this country that's never talked about much, or if at all, certainly not by the liberal press, and that is home rule, state rule. Washington was George Washington, first president of the United States, was very clear about wanting a strong central government, but he wanted the states to be able to have decision-making in their own state. Now, so they passed this. The feds in D.C., along with the ACLU, that wonderful group of lawyers that take these lost causes and fight against you and me, the majority. Hey, this is a conservative state based on Christian values. It's called Bill number HB 1330. They were told they couldn't do it. Guess what? Obama did it anyway. They passed the bill. Oklahoma did it. Oklahoma recently passed a law in the state to incarcerate all illegal immigrants and ship them back to where they came from unless they want to get a green card and become an American citizen. They all scattered. Now, why is that feel-good, do-gooders, liberals? Why would people scatter when they're given an opportunity to get a green card and become American citizens? Did you ever think about it? Maybe they don't want to work? Maybe. Oh, no, everybody wants a job, right? Everybody wants to work. You're nuts. You're nuts. Anyway, they all scattered, and that was Bill number 1804, and this was against the advice of the federal government and the ACLU. They said it would be a mistake. Guess what? Oklahoma did it anyway. The government couldn't stop them. Recently, we passed a law to include DNA samples from any and all illegals to the Oklahoma database for criminal investigative purposes. Pelosi said it was unconstitutional. The bill was 1102. Guess what? Oklahoma did it anyway. Of course, Nancy Pelosi, I hope you women love her. She's a real piece of work. Several weeks ago, we passed a law declaring Oklahoma as a sovereign state, not under the federal government directives. That means joining Texas, Montana, and Utah as the only states to do so. I'll bet you didn't know that. Oklahoma, Texas, Montana, and Utah passed a law declaring themselves as a sovereign state. More states are going to follow. Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Carolina, Tennessee, both Carolinas, Kentucky, Missouri, Arkansas, West Virginia, Mississippi, and Florida. Save your Confederate money. I was just going to say it sounds like the South. It appears the South is about to rise up again. Bill number HUR 1003. The federal government has made bold steps to take away our guns. Remember that. How come it's always the person that kills somebody with a gun? It's the person that we have to get the guns away from. But when it's a bomb, it's the bomb's fault. They don't treat a bomber the way they do. I know that's stretching it, but again, it's looking at the hypocrisy of the left. Oklahoma, though, passed a law confirming people in this state have the right to bear arms and transport them in their vehicles. I'm sure that was a setback for the criminals. The liberals didn't like it, but guess what? Oklahoma passed it anyway. Just this month, the state has voted and passed a law that all driver's license exams will be printed in English, and only English. Oh, gosh, liberals. Oh, I'm going to move to Oklahoma. We should be printing it like, ever gone down, Kenny, have you gone down to the Social Security office down anywhere in Plymouth? And I went, okay, that's where I went, Falmouth. Oh yeah, but did you happen to notice the list of languages that we pay for translators? I think when I went, it was a while ago, there were 17 different languages that we, the American citizen, have to pay for a translator. Guess what political party and which branch of the political party that's, but it's so nice. Don't make them learn the English language. I don't mind bilingual. I wish I could speak Spanish, I really do, or Italian. That's the way it used to be, though. English is the language. Oh no, not in today's feel-good, do-good, nitwit America. I can't help it, I'm sorry. But anyway, just this month, the state has, I just mentioned that. They've been called racist for doing this, but the fact is that all of the roadsides are in English only. Oh yeah, that's right. Massachusetts liberals, I am appalled. I am fed up with you. All of those printed signs, stop and caution, should be in Spanish too. At a cost to you and me, by the way, Kenny. And do you ever notice we can't spend money fast enough in liberal Massachusetts? You people, all your taxes continue to rise. Over in Carver, I guess it was through the police department, federal funds. Now, you've got to be an ostrich or someone who can get their head up a fine pore in the rest of the body to not see this stupidity, especially in this financial time. I'm over there in Carver and I see a truck painting something on the roads. I'm sure they've already got the money, federal money. I think it's every 75 yards. It's not even 100 yards. Have you seen? They painted the outline of a bicycle rider with V's on it, indicating, yeah. There must be, I don't know how many, figure from the Plymouth line right up to Plymouth, to Carver Town Hall. We all paid for that. Every 75 yards, I don't know if it's 75, but not just one every half mile, every 75 yards. People losing their homes, losing their businesses, can't get health care coverage. Liberal Democrats running Massachusetts and running the federal government. God. It is just incredible. So Massachusetts, oh, and by the way, that's the other one. Have you noticed? I take that road a lot, you know, Route 6. And you see, all those markers, those numbered markers of every mile and every, now you have the electrified, of course they put solar panels, I mentioned this last week, solar panels on these 4x3 or whatever signs that tell you the Sagamore Beach is 5 miles away. And it's 5 minutes to get there. Unless the bridge is being painted for its 4,000th time or putting a canvas top on it. And you and I are paying for that equipment, ladies and gentlemen. And what's even nicer is we're paying for the government employee, union employees to put those signs out and to collect them. And we've got businessmen and women who are working 100 hours a week and have had to lay off people because they're just barely paying their bills. Town of Carver. Some of you know I used to own the Crane Brook restaurant. Wonderful place. A lot of Plymouth people came, a lot of others. Some talked about my prices and blah, blah, blah. I had to close it anyway 3 years ago because I could no longer afford to keep it open. That was due to a terrible winter like the last winter, like so many other retail businesses as well as restaurants go through. I was a school teacher, as I said, I loved it. A snowstorm, you rolled over and go back to bed. We used to call it no schools all day. And you get paid. And don't give me this, oh, we have to make it up. Oh, yeah, take a look at what the schools are doing in June or the end of May with the makeup days. They're out under a tree playing the guitar and, laying in the grass and having fun. There's no education going on. Not that there's that much going on a lot of times. There I go, digging the teachers. But a business owner or my waitresses or others, they lose their pay. Plus, they've had to pay a babysitter. But that's not the point I'm making in terms of the Crane Brook. Bad winters for any business. When people can't get out, you can't do business. And we had storms, as we did this winter, not on Mondays and Tuesdays. We had them on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays. I did a wonderful Sunday brunch. And it was snowed up. In the month of December, I lost over $53,000. I'm just being this candid because I'm not speaking about me or looking for sympathy. That's what you do when you're in business, which I said previously. That's why the business owner is supposed to drive a sports car if they've worked 90 hours a week and they've taken the risks of now ending up with a Volkswagen Beetle like I have. But anyway, the ultimate bottom line reason I bring it up, I came to Carver and the property tax in 2007, or 2004, I'm trying to remember. I think it was 2004, was $4,160. I remember it. Again, I'm speaking for you business people and to educate. This is what I do this show for. This is why I do the Saturday morning radio show for. It's not for me. I'm on the down slope. It's for my kids, your kids, my grandkids, your grandkids, the future. We've got to change our thinking or we're done. When government employees are making an average of 30% more than the same job in the private sector, you no longer have democracy, you have socialism. And that's what we have been working toward. Anyway, when I was forced to shut down after using up so much of my retirement nest egg, the property tax in Carver was $10,300. So in, I think, 8 years, I was open 7 or 8 years, it went from $4,160 to $10,300. And what did I get for it? One, Carver doesn't have town water. I had to put 2 wells in because I bought the property next door at a cost of $4,000 for the restaurant. They have no town sewerage. I had to put in a new $58,000 septic system. And they don't even have, in South Carver, a gas line. I had to have propane, which is 20 to 22%, I believe, higher than normal gas. The building was originally built in 1756. Get your computers out and subtract 1756 from 2014. Now, it had been somewhat renovated, but it was not insulated. So I had a wood stove going all the time. But there were times when my propane bill was $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Think of how many glasses of wine, how many steaks, how many sandwiches a restaurateur has to sell just to pay their gas bill. Then there's insurance. Then there's payroll. I mention this all the time. I want to tell you people, again, I would say 90% of the working people today, both in the private and public sector, do not know that whether it be the town or the business owner, every nickel that is withheld from your check for Social Security, your employer has to match. And in that small restaurant, it was $600 a week for me on top of my payroll costs. All these things are conveniently withheld from the general knowledge of the public, and they don't really care anyway. When you've got a public that gripes about what somebody running for president makes, like they did to Mitt Romney, or anyone else that's wealthy. So this is it. My gosh, that was a quick hour.
Talk to me, talk to
All right.
me, talk.
Well, thanks for joining me. We didn't have any calls, but I hope it's been
Don't
entertaining.
leave me like this.
This is Don McKeag.
From a
Catch me
star.
on Saturdays and give me a call up there at station WXTK. But this is the Pac-Man, Plymouth TV. Thank you, Kenny Bukes, and thanks to you that took the time to listen to Donald P. McKeag. God bless. Have a wonderful weekend. See you next week.
Turn the lights way down low and talk to me. Talk to me, talk to me.